and welcome to a philosophical thought experiment. I will be reading an essay by Gigi called The Transfer of Hidden Occult Powers. Dark forces that seek to control society have a specific method to their madness. We must understand that the bizarre events we are seeing today are to usher in a new way of life, a new society. To achieve this, they must first destroy certain facets of our existing way of life, such as spirituality, mainly all valid spiritual studies that propagate Christ consciousness, freedom of speech, and the right to defend ourselves. In other words, society must regress to an authoritarian structure. This is not rocket science. We simply need to open a history book to see this very pattern repeated at different levels of human development. However, we also must understand that this apparent controlled demolition of society is very delicate. Why? Because certain facets of society must not only be destroyed, but the chaotic energy that is generated from their destruction must be directly channeled into another event. In other words, each operation that is done to mankind at this time must loop into another operation, another part of the plan. The occult energy that is generated from dramatic events must be carried on. It must be transferred, just like the continual charge moving through various circuits. This allows a continuous flow of harvested life force energy to feed certain deities or egregores and groups. And this cannot be emphasized enough. These entities need to be fed. If they are not, all dark control structures on this planet fall. These groups, physical and non-physical, create specific harmful influences that we humanity end up taking on. However, and this is a very big however, if the harvested life force is not able to transfer from one event into another, there is a net loss of energy. This loss of energy over time can lead to the exposure and collapse of an entire system of control. Occult entities that are used to hide or protect certain individuals starve and dissolve. Without this protection, important truths about what is truly going on are revealed, sometimes through seemingly miraculous or unusual ways. To be clear, all systems of control on this planet rely on huge amounts of life force energy to exist. Why this is important is that all of the chaotic energy from the last 2 years is at a point where it must be channeled into another event, another operation, another large operation, and there is currently much difficulty in this transfer happening at this time, because the timing for the next event was initially planned for a later date, or a certain level of consent was not achieved, and thus not enough energy is available to transfer to the next event for it to succeed. The darker forces are finding themselves out of time or out of sync with their plans. You could say they are having difficulty controlling the collective energy, so that it may properly transfer into the next event in their plan. The lag or energy deficit is about 3 to 6 months. They would need 3 to 6 more months of humanity giving into them without any awakenings occurring, or that could be understood as humanity developing too quickly, approximately 3 to 6 months ahead of their original plans. For this reason, a great pressure is currently being applied to mankind as a way of preventing or slowing down the fires of truth and liberty. However, no matter what is done, a void or junction exists. They are at a loss, and thus their movements for the next 3 to 6 months can be viewed as attempts to correct that loss. While things are very challenging at this time, please remember that the greatest burden lies on those that seek to create an unnatural, inhuman world. Now that we understand how important energy transference is in times like this, all that we must do is show up and show up in love. All that we must do is maintain our humanity. Nothing can be taken from us. We only lose what we consent to give away. Now, this is not to say to avoid taking action or to avoid standing up. What is being said is that all action that we take should be based in love. It should be based in a higher reason, a higher energy. It should be coherent, otherwise the action that we take is no greater or more powerful than the chaos that we are experiencing now. It only feeds into exactly what we don't want. Old giants are falling, a new world is forming, and may we have the strength to move in peace and grace, knowing that it is our very beingness, our divine humanity, that lies at the core of all victories. Only when we betray ourselves do we feed the beast.